Okay, so this is trying to. I'm gonna try and explain a little bit the strategy of evil, how evil works in the world. Not in the small scale, that's relatively obvious to everybody, I think, but on a large scale. For example, what do you think that the death of Marie Antoinette has to do with the filth, SJW nonsense, and tranny kind of stuff, and the transgender lecture hour in children's to children in schools and in libraries that is coming out of mostly Hollywood and in general America? No connection, right? Well, actually, there is a connection. So, did you know, for example, that the European Freemasons, which I need to look into it a bit deeper, but it appears that the European Freemasons, the first lodge I think was started in London, if I remember right, in 1717. And again, I speak under correction. I'm not 100% sure of this. I need to just double check. But I believe that mostly the Freemasons was originally an invention of the Jewish expatriates that had come out of Russia. But I speak under correction. It wasn't just Jewish people. Obviously, there's others involved. But anyway, the fact is that these Freemasons were at the French court already of Louis the 15th. Louis the 16th is the one that was married to Marie Antoinette. And what were these Freemasons doing? Well, they were trying to support the creation of an independent America. And they were doing so by having France finance a lot of the stuff that was going on in the States. So in the American War of Independence, you will find that there was plenty of money going out there from France to sort of fight the English. And as you probably know, the French and the English were pretty much at war for a long time all over the place. Why? Well, because the Freemasons had it as their outspoken, well, maybe not very well known, but certainly clear indication that they wanted to get rid of all monarchies. Why get rid of all monarchies? Because the Freemasons have been, from the beginning, completely against Christianity and particularly Catholicism. The French Revolution of the so-called Enlightenment saw barbarities by the so-called enlightened towards Catholics that was just of a nature that it's on parallel with the sort of African mass murders that happen in Sierra Leone and that sort of thing, like horrific crimes, okay, killing of women and children in horrible ways, and just a massacre, a complete genocide. And that's what Freemasons do. Now, your average American doesn't know this, and your average American probably thinks that Freemasons, oh, they just build hospitals and help build schools. And again, it's like many of these so-called secret societies, they've got different levels. And at the lower levels, it's just a couple of guys meeting up for a beer, a coffee, or whatever, having a drink. Although they still do the secret ritual, although they still do the secret handshakes and all that stuff. But, at a lower level, it's mostly like LARPing, live action role playing. Oh, we're in a secret society sort of thing. And at the lower levels, again, maybe they raise money for supposedly good causes and so on. But that's not the nature of the Freemasons. Again, something like the Illuminati. Now, when the first series of the Illuminati came out, which was written by Robert Anton Wilson, a trilogy, I read those. I was 16, 17 at the time, and I was living in England at the time, in Stratford-upon-Avon. And in the library there, they had, it was an amazing set of books. I wish there was a way I could get a hold of them and have them myself. They were essentially a dictionary, but encyclopedic. Each book was at least, I'm too close to the camera, but it was at least this wide, over a foot wide and over 2 foot tall. It was probably almost like a meter tall and it was that thick, and that was just one volume. That was like the letter A, you know, and they had something like 12 or 15 or 16 volumes, because some letters had more than some volumes had more than one letter, you know, like maybe letters like J and K or whatever were together in one volume. The pages of this thing were like really thin, you know, like onion skin paper thin, and the writing was tiny. They were filled with literally, I believe, every word in the English language that ever appeared. It was an astonishing piece of work. And you know, 25 years later or whatever, I went back to Stratford-upon-Avon to say hello to the old people that I was with when I was a student. You know, I was renting a room from them, and I went to see them and say hello again. And I went to that library, and of course those books weren't there anymore. But anyway, in those books they had Illuminati, and it gave you the whole history pretty much. And it said the Illuminati came from, you know, the Latin illuminated, and they were started out by I forget the name now. Is it Weishaupt in 17 something or other? You know, there was a relationship between the Illuminati and the Freemasons. And their intended purpose was to destroy Christianity. The Illuminati are essentially Luciferian. You know, it's Luciferian worship. That's why illuminated, you know, Lucifer light bringer. You know, that was the connection of supposedly the Enlightenment was the bringing of light. You know, the enlightening of people's minds, and also connected to Prometheus and so on. So all these ancient sort of secret societies had it out for Catholicism in particular. And why? Because Catholicism is true, and you know, they hate Jesus Christ, they hate the truth. They are you know, on the side of the father of lies. So in trying to destroy Christianity, also they want to try and destroy the family and so on, and it's all interconnected. But here's the thing. Now, why did Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette get killed? Well, because they were splurging, the people were starving in the streets while they were partying. You know, the famous saying of the peasants are starving, and Marie Antoinette saying, well, then let them eat cake. But what you need to understand, that was all orchestrated. The people that were at court, that were essentially telling Louis XVI, hey, you got to fund the Americans, were all Freemasons. And these guys essentially diverted vast riches of the French nation to America. And then when the sort of bankruptcy of this methodology came out, they blamed it all on Louis XVI, and he got killed for it. You can sort of see the sneaky behavior, right? Oh, and by the way, apparently I'm shadow banned already by YouTube. As I mentioned before, I have a record of being banned outright quicker than anybody else, probably because I just speak pretty directly to the truth. So the only way even people that are subscribing apparently are not getting notifications. So if you're watching these videos, spread them out, you know, let people know, and you have to keep back here to check if you're not getting notifications. But anyway, let's see how high we can get. Let's see if we can get to 1,000 subscribers before they ban me outright. You know, don't worry too much about it. There are contingencies in place. All the videos are all saved anyway. But getting back on track to what I was saying. So the Freemasons essentially organized the funding of the American independence. And then, whether you like it or not, especially all the Americans that are watching this and that have just had the 4th of July and that are patriotic, and there's nothing wrong with patriotism. I understand it. It's good. It's fine. But you need to understand, is it founded on a bed of lies? And in this case of America, it is. America is a country that was essentially founded by Freemasons and deists. And you can say, oh, it was a Christian country. And there's a lot of people, friends I know, guys I respect and that I'm friends with, that are like, that is nonsense. America was never a Freemason country. Unfortunately, it is. Okay, and it's pretty obvious. Washington, all those guys, they were all Freemasons, high-level Freemasons. They're, even in some of their paintings, they're in positions that are known to be Freemasonic sort of, you know, shout-outs to other Freemasons. And you can dig these details up yourself. But just to give you a really easy one, do you realize that there has been a vast Jewish influence and Freemasonic influence in the creation of the nation of America? There is a reason that most American males, even today, are circumcised. And they're not Jewish, they're not Muslim, and they, the reasoning behind why American men are mostly circumcised is because of, it's a hygiene issue, which is a lot of fucking horseshit, all right? It's got nothing to do with that. That's the excuse they use to get it done. Owen Benjamin goes on about, the Jewish people want the tips of your dicks, something to that. You have to understand that the subterfuge, the lies in the history that you think you know are so vast, so huge, that when you start to uncover them, you start to wonder if it's all crazy nonsense. You start to wonder if you're crazy, and you're not. It's just, that saying, the truth is always stranger than fiction? It really is. If somebody wrote a book about the true history of certain events in human history, they would think it's the most absurd, weird conspiracy theory, but the reality is very often far, far more intriguing, twisted, and absurd than you know. I mean, imagine the government feeding radioactive tablets to handicapped children just to find out what radioactivity does to people. They did that. It's out. The government of my own country, of Italy, Piazza Fontana, the army blew up a fucking square, killed, I can't remember, it's in the hundreds, I think. A couple of hundred people, 100-something people, I think, were killed, and a couple of hundred wounded, men, women, children, indiscriminately. Just so that it was a false flag, just so they could take out the Red Brigades to stop communism in Italy, which was, advancing pretty rapidly. And this is absolutely confirmed, came out, 20 years later or whatever, when one of the army guys that was involved in it committed suicide, left details of it, and shot himself because he couldn't take it after 20 years of knowing what he'd done. False flags and conspiracies are exactly how human race has continued to develop. That's human history. It's not even questionable, honestly, at this point. It's a fact. Look at what the Federal Reserve is. Look at the fact of fiat money, that it's not backed by gold anymore. Look at the fact that the gold that was supposed to be stored in Fort Knox doesn't exist anymore. The fact that when Germany said, hey, we want our gold back, it took them a couple of years to get something back. And when they got something back, it wasn't gold. It was gold-plated titanium bars. I mean, why didn't that make the front page news of every newspaper on the planet? You're starting to understand that everything that you watch, everything that you see on TV, everything that you read in a newspaper is a pile of bullshit, supporting a linear narrative that has got very little to do with what's really going on. So, yes, America was founded by Freemasons, has got a Freemasonic influence throughout, and then after the Second World War, has got the influence of Nazi thinking and Nazi zeitgeist worldview throughout. The Nazis that did escape and did not get killed in any bunkers in Germany, in Berlin, opened more than 1,000 companies that are going on today, that are still working today, including IG Farben, IBM, all a bunch of them, funded with Nazi money. That was funded by Nazi gold, that was taken out of literally of the teeth of people in the concentration camps, that was stolen artworks, that was stolen jewels, gold, diamonds, you name it. Argentina, as a country-sized country within a country that only people with SS IDs could get into. Bariloche, sitting in Argentina, is pretty much, it was a Nazi enclave. These are realities. The so-called Apollo program and the fake moon landings were all done by full-on Nazi officers. Wernher von Braun was an SS officer. Most millennials haven't got a clue about that stuff. The fact that the moon landings were faked is absolutely true. They were absolutely faked. We also did go to the moon. I mentioned that in some other videos. But the technology used to go to the moon is not what they tell you it was. And that's why we can't do it again, because it had anti-gravity technology. Anti-gravity technology is a reality. You can't understand the economics of planet Earth if you don't account for anti-gravity technology and the fact that there are probably huge ships already out there manned by human beings. It sounds crazy, sounds absolutely crazy, but you know what? Put the pieces together and it starts to make sense. But let's just do one thing at a time. Getting back to why so much filth comes out of America. Well, it is a Freemasonic founded country. The predominant so-called Christianity of America is Protestantism. And Protestantism, at the last count 15 years ago or so, had 30,000 branches. It's probably 50,000 now. And hey, if you don't like any one of those branches, you just make up your own. That's not Christianity in any way, shape, or form. Protestantism, as anybody who can do any logical thinking, is a lie. It's a legion of lies. Can't be. You know, either the church was there from the beginning or it wasn't. And it was. And a German guy who decided to say that only the Bible counts, and then immediately and promptly went to change the Bible first, and then only the Bible that he put together counts, according to him, who wanted to bang nuns. I mean, that guy fixed it? No. You have to understand that the only reason that Protestantism exists, the only reason, is because of a fat monk who wanted to eat and bang nuns, and an English king who wanted to murder and divorce his wives. So it was all sexual deviancy from the start. That's what started Protestantism. You can slice it whichever way you want. You can try and say, no, but the Anglicans, and but the rights of the Baptists, and no, but the, it doesn't matter. That's the origin of it. What's the origin of Christianity? Jesus nailed to a cross and his resurrection. That's the origin of Christianity. The origin of Protestantism is a monk that wanted to bang nuns and a king that wanted to murder, divorce his wives. That's the fact. End of. So, on that same basis, what is the origin of America? It is the satanistic influence of Freemasons that created that country. And you're saying, oh, but you're making these links. No, I'm explaining to you how evil works, the strategy of evil, long term. These are long-term plans. What did Protestantism cause? What was its effects? What was its fruits? And it took, a few hundred years to get there. It took 500 years to get there. But ultimately, what the fruits of Protestantism are is it started with the acceptance of contraception. The acceptance of contraception reduces sex from what you do in order to create a family and be united and be married for life. And it changes sex to sport. Once sex is sport, it is no longer for procreation. It is no longer for the making of a family. It is for fun. And if you're having sport with somebody and they're not playing the way you want, well, you just pick another player. That brings in divorce. And what does divorce bring in? Well, if you can divorce whenever you want for no reason, and sex is not about kids anymore, in fact, kids become a bit of a problem because, hey, you just want to have more fun. You just want to keep banging away. And you know what? Maybe sometimes condoms are just not that much fun. So you do it without, and oops, oh, here we have a pregnancy, as if nobody knew how that happens. Yeah, as if it wasn't easy to avoid. And again, don't think I'm just pointing fingers. I've been guilty of that. I mentioned in other videos and so on. The point is, what happens then? Oh, well, kid's an inconvenience. So we kill it. We kill the little baby. We kill the little baby because it's inconvenient to our lives. Can you see? That started with Protestantism. Throughout the Catholic and Christian world, including the Protestants, up until about the 1920s, 1930s, it was a simple, known and accepted fact that divorce was not acceptable and that contraception was evil and wrong. That changed. Do you know what Protestantism is? It's the secularization of Christianity. It's a divergence of truth into a secularized form of, oh yeah, we'll all just do what we want. We'll interpret the Bible as we want. Interpret as thou will is the whole of the law. You can't get away from that. If you're a Protestant, you cannot tell anybody how to interpret anything, and nobody can tell you how to interpret anything. It's all you. It's all you. You don't think that's arrogance? You don't think that's pride? Yeah. Every single human being just equally capable of interpreting the Bible for themselves as they wish. So the whore says, hey, there are whores in Jesus' lineage, must be good, I can carry on being a whore. So the murderer says, hey, you know, David killed one of his best friends so he could keep banging his wife. It's got to be all right for me to do it. Yeah? No interpretation required. Interpret as you will. Yeah? No. Most people can't read a paragraph in a goddamn newspaper and summarize it in their own words. They literally can't do it. They will fuck that up. But you're telling me that they are completely capable of interpreting the Old Testament, which is written in a way that is almost completely allegorical and has rules of language in it, that you practically need to be a student of that culture, that language, for a couple of decades before you can really make any good sense of it. And you're telling me that the average pleb who can't even speak another language and reads it in English just like Jesus spoke from the KJV because that's the only one that counts, you know, those damn Satanistic Catholics, it's good that, you know, Luther took out the wrong bits of the Bible that worked fine for 1,520 years or so, yeah? No, it's idiotic. It's absolutely idiotic. The average person just doesn't have the mind to interpret anything for themselves. And it's a good thing if they go to a good priest that tells them, you know, these are the basics. Be a good person, be a good husband or wife, be a good father or mother, have a family, look after your family, stay together, that's your thing. That's what it is. But you see, the perversion happens over centuries. The initial reason that America was created was a fundamentally Freemasonic, which is essentially satanistic thing. And look at where it is. Look at what it did. Look at what it's doing. Where is all this madness coming from? It's not coming from Afghanistan. It's not coming even from Saudi Arabia. Okay? They're not shooting in their airwaves a constant stream of like men equal women and men equal, you know, the men are toxic, but men are women and women are men, and yeah, we should all be the same and everything is equal, and you know, a 50-year-old man can go into a toilet with a 10-year-old girl and it's all fine, and you know, he can just wear a wig, and then you have transgender freaks doing sexual displays to little kids in libraries. That's all normal. That's all just fine. Yeah? You think that comes out of nowhere? It's all coming from the States. And slowly it's infecting certainly England. Slowly it might be infecting some parts of Europe. But I tell you right now, I know that the average American is not for this stuff. I know that. But the powers that be and the media control and a lot of the governments all over the world, but particularly in America, are involved in this shit. That deep state, that swamp of scum, of lizard beings, it's out there for a reason. They're doing this for a reason. The pedophilia, apparently Epstein just got arrested again. And I hope to God that Trump has something to do with that. And I hope to God that they actually dig out all the connection, all the filth, all the disgusting shit that went on in that guy's island, even though he burnt it down, yeah? The temple, a temple, yeah? A temple with owls, a temple to Osiris or whatever pagan shit they were doing. They have a temple on that guy's island where little kids are getting abused, raped, killed, who knows, sacrificed, who knows. Sick shit going on, really sick shit. If you want to know what I think Hillary is guilty of, look up some of the conspiracy theory. Look up the thing that says there are New York cops that saw video. They were crying. Hardened New York cops that are in in the child sex crime unit, watching a video supposedly, allegedly, of Hillary doing shit that literally made them cry. Yeah. Now, I'm not even gonna say what it is, but you can find that shit on the internet if you want. Now, you can think it's all bullshit and it's all conspiracy theories and it's all lies. I don't. If I had to bet my money, I bet my money that that's most likely true. Pizzagate, they covered up Pizzagate. I mean, look at the links. Just look for yourself. Look at the links between these people. Look at the pictures that they posted before they took it all down. Yeah? Look at the stuff that they said. Look at what Jack from Twitter had on his Twitter feed, which I had pinned on my Twitter feed, which is why I'm banned at the IP level. Yeah? Look what he said about cheese on pizza. Look what he said about the satanic verses. Read it in context. These people are evil, absolutely evil. And that's just the ones plain in your face. You think you're smart enough to see what the satanic intent a couple of centuries down the line? Most of us are not. And you know, I'm not criticizing you. I bought into a lot of this shit too myself when I was younger. But just keep looking. Just keep looking at the truth. Keep looking at what's really happening. Keep looking at what, you know, when somebody tells you a man is a woman, something's a bit off there. You know, you don't need to be a genius to figure that out. That's on the same level as somebody telling you 2 and 2 is 97, you know? No, it really isn't. But that's what evil does. And the strategy of evil, long term, is usually more dangerous than the short-term effects, because the long term is strategic. And it changes whole populations, it changes whole nations, it changes the world view of a whole population in its entirety. So you've got to look out for that. You know, Christianity is truly the only philosophy that explains the real world as we find it. So I mentioned this because one of the surest things for me that proved to me that Christianity was real is the noticing of evil. The noticing of evil. Evil is intelligent, it hates us, is personified in many cases. And it's a real thing, it's a real force, it's a real power, it's a real demonic fact, you know. And once you see it, you know, the genius of it is that it's hidden. And the secularization of Christianity allowed everybody to think it's just nonsense. Oh, well, hell doesn't exist. The devil is not real. There's no such thing as demons. Oh, no, that's all just human nature. It's just us. It's just how things are. Good and bad, you know, it's all relative. No, it's not. Once you see it, it's like, you know, it's like a detective. You know, you're just a detective working in your police station. You're a detective in a town. A lot of accidents, a lot of people die. You're investigating some murders, you know, some clear murders. But, you know, the accident rate of car crashes is very high in your town. And there's all these things talking about not drinking and driving slower. And they put in the speed traps to try and slow people down, and higher tax on alcohol and so on. And there's people dying of heart attack because they smoke and drink too much. So you put a higher tax on that, and you carry on with this sort of stuff. And then one day you come across, you know, a car crash that you're just there, you happen to go there, and you realize, oh, the brake lines have been cut. Then you start to go through the archives of all the other car crashes that happen in your city, and you realize, fucking hell, 8 out of 10 of them have all had their brake lines cut in the same place, the same way. Something's not right here. And the other 2 out of 10, you know, one of those seemed like there was a tampering with the petrol tank that made it blow up. So you dig some more. You go and look at some more recent ones. You look at the ones that are happening every day, and lo and behold, hey, brake line is cut. And yeah, there's definitely tampering. There's like a little remote control little thing in the petrol tank that just makes a spark when you hit a certain speed. Well, what the hell? And you find one of these things not being burned. Now you start to understand something. There is somebody doing this. It's intentional. They're not accidents. Now, when you start to see that, you can't unsee it. So that's why I'm mentioning this. Look at the long-range stuff. You know, I'm not trying to offend the Protestants. I'm not trying to offend the patriotic Americans. I'm sure I will. I'm sure I have. But, you know, as I said, I've got a talent for that shit. I can get under people's skin within 3 seconds flat just by telling the truth. It's astonishing. But then again, I don't want lukewarm people. So, you know, you come here, you got to have a spine. You got to have a bit of steel in you. You got to be able to take a hit. You got to be able to stand the fire of truth. Foundation of America was built by people who were essentially Freemasons, deists. And while not every single one of them might have been completely evil, the thing is the origin matters. You know, the root of the tree bears the fruit of the tree. You can't plant an avocado tree and get figs. It just doesn't work that way. And there was a lot of Jewish influence, Judaic influence. You know, by Jewish, I mean the Talmudic Jews that happened after Jesus, of course. Judaism, as we know it today, is a younger religion than Christianity, of course. It's Talmudic Jews. And they're 1% of the population, but they pretty much run America. I mean, look at who owns all the media in America. Look at who owns the Senate, for God's sake. It's interesting. And they hate Christ. They absolutely hate Christ. Because Western civilization is the Christian Western civilization, which is founded on, Greco-Roman principles of law and philosophy, and Christianity, has nothing to do with Judaic thought. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You need to understand that the Jews absolutely despise Jesus, and he's referred to as him whose name should be blotted out from history in the Talmud. They also believe he's boiling in a lake of shit in hell. That's a fact. The Talmud says it's okay to have sex with 3-year-olds. Why don't you know that? All those, again, the evangelists, Protestants. Okay, doesn't mean that every Protestant is a satanic devil worshipper. Okay, I'm not saying that. But they're deceived. Just like the vast majority of so-called Catholics are deceived. If you think Bergoglio is the Pope, if you think anyone in the Vatican is a legitimate cleric of the church, you're deceived. You're either a moron or deceived, or both. And lazy, because you don't study your own history of your own church, of your own thing that should be central in your life. You're lazy. Get your ass out, read some old books. Go find out what the patristic fathers said about this stuff. Evil is real, and its intent spans centuries. Satan doesn't think on human life terms. He thinks in millennia. Now it's all coming to a head because maybe we're reaching a certain, focal point. If Bergoglio is indeed the herald of the Antichrist, which, by all indications it seems to be, we might be closer to the end times than anybody knows. But no one knows when that will happen anyway, so it's pointless to speculate. But our job here is to fight evil, to resist evil. So that's why I'm pointing it out to you. But don't despair. That's the other really important thing. Go to menofthewest.com or .net, I don't remember. Anyway, I wrote an article there called Rome Has Fallen. So Google Rome Has Fallen, Men of the West, and you'll find the article. And that's the attitude you should have about this stuff. I'm Catholic. The so-called Catholic Church, what 99% of people think is the Catholic Church, is the Novus Ordo Church. They're essentially satanistic scum, pedophiles, predatory fake clerics and so on. I'm not despairing. I'm invigorated. I can stand now against that shit and just speak it out loud to their face. To their face. I have absolutely no compunction about telling a so-called fake priest of the Novus Ordo, you're a liar, and you're not a cleric, and you don't speak for me or my church or anything to do with God. Whether you're a liar because you're intentionally a deceiver and a pedophile, or because you're an idiot and you haven't even bothered to research this stuff before you became a priest. And which seminary did you go to? Because they're mostly bathhouses now, No, stand and be counted. Know that you're you personally. What you do matters. What you think matters. And it's on you. It's what you do. So you want to be a Christian, then be a Christian. Be a Christian. Stand next to me. Gonna build that city-state. Build that wall. Build the city-state. And throw out all the non-Christians. I don't care where they go. That's their business. They don't want to be with Christians. That's just fine with me. Keep them out. And if you come into our city-state, you come as a guest. And you respect our rules. That's how it's going to end up. So prepare for it. Go towards that. Aim towards that. Build a community. If you can't build it physically next to you, do what I'm doing. Put some videos out. Share this stuff. Connect. Email each other. See where you live. See where somebody that thinks like you lives. Go to church. See who thinks that way. Speak to people. Build your own little community. That's the key. And, if you can, get the hell out of the big cities. Build little communities in tiny little villages out of the way. That's the way to be. So think about that. Think about the strategies of evil and what you can do about it. And you can do a lot. You can do a lot. Number one is don't despair. Be invigorated. You've seen the truth. You can see the enemy. Once you can see the enemy, it's easier to fight. Remember, you're special ops behind the lines. If you're a Christian, that's what it means. You're special ops behind enemy lines. It's a target-rich environment. That's what it is. It's a target-rich environment because pretty much wherever you turn, evil lurks. So get busy. Get busy. Get doing your job. Spread the light. And remember, spreading the light often is just about telling the truth, being a beacon. And you will attract arrows and slings and shots. You will. It's expected. You're special ops behind enemy lines. What you think's going to happen? As soon as you stick your head out, they're going to shoot back. So be ready. But it's a target-rich environment. As innocent as doves and as wise as serpents. That's our job. Bring the fight to them. We are the 300. We are the immortals. It's our job. It's what we do. Smile in the face of this nonsense. That's what we're going to do. That's what we are doing. So, don't despair. And I said this at the end because I only want the people that went all the way through to the end to find the good nugget, the good bit. Not the ones that go, oh, it's all hell, we're all going to have to be trannies soon. No. Get up. Get up. Fight. There's plenty of opportunity for you. Like I said, it's a target-rich environment. Build your little community. Build your little friendships. They're not little. They're the only thing that's going to stand the storm. Okay? So that's it. Have a good Sunday.